Hi everyone, it's Ali from Ali's Stitching Studio back on FlossTube for a very late video. I jumped out, I want to say, in May or June this year of filming monthly. I was back on the monthly rotation of filming and I jumped out, so I apologise for those who have been waiting with a bated breath, who are turning blue. If you've been watching me since I started in 2015, this is what I do. I come and go. I lose enthusiasm for filming. I've got lots of time on my hand at the moment, only working the one job. In fact, I'm still in my uniform. I haven't even changed. But I wanted to strike while the iron was hot and thinking about filming this special, which I mentioned on Instagram, and a few of you were interested. So at the moment, I'm stitching a long dog sampler piece, and before I changed whips, I was on a long dog sampler piece as well, and I thought, oh, I have got quite a few, and I think I've got about 10 or so here to show you. So that's whips, finishes, and charts, so we'll have a good old dig through those. I've got lots to discuss, and a little bit of quilting will applique, some junk journaling. So we'll just have a little bit of an ad hoc video. I hope you are all well. I hope all three of you that are watching are going to enjoy this. And I hope that cross stitch is treating you kindly and you're not having to do any reverse stitching, which is my numero uno hatred, which it is for all of us. No one wants to go backwards. But we will get straight into me talking about what I have been stitching. Now, guns are blazing. I started Whip Go in January and it was all organised, and I had my pages all done in a scrapbook, and it worked out quite well for me. I banged out quite a few finishes to start, and then I think I just don't like me telling me what to do. So, I have to apologise for the mood lighting. So it's late in the afternoon and I'm trying to stop the reflection on my glasses. So you can see in my glasses opposite here is a big window, but if I have it open it'll be too bright. So, but I need my glasses on to see what I'm doing with you. So I apologise if you're getting glare, but if I don't have them on, I can't see. If I have the window open, it's too bright. And if I have the overhead fluorescent lights on, the reflection's really bad. So a little bit of mood lighting for Ali's Stitching Studio today. Hopefully you can still see what I'm showing you, and that it won't temper the enjoyment of this video whatsoever. So, jumped out of Whip Go. I have ascertained that I just don't like being told what to do by myself at any time. That goes on 24 hours a day and it appears in my craft world. I don't like that. So happy, I like the concept of Whip Go, but just not for me at the moment. And I don't think I also like chopping and changing. I know it's only 2 pieces a month and I might do that naturally, but if I feel like I want to go and keep going on a piece, I also want to do that without feeling like there's a couple of more numbers sitting there that I need to get to, and if I don't, I'm failing. I don't like feeling like I'm failing because I don't feel like I am. If I'm crafting every day, how lucky for me. I've success, that's success. So I will start with showing you the whips that I've been doing since I think I filmed. If I apologise if I showed any of this in May or June when I last filmed. I don't think I have. I think I've had a little bit of a look on Instagram and I'm quite up to date with what I showed last time. So here we go. I did get quite close to a finish on this piece, and this is when I was still whip going. So this is Tree of Life by Mirabilia. Oops. Quality viewing as ever, what you've come to know and expect and love. There's the piece. So I did a whoopsie somewhere. I thought I was being clever and jumping in and moving something, and it wasn't right. So anyway, I had to unpick. I had to unpick a heap of stuff above this flower here, and then I got the poos and put it aside. So we are really, really close on this. I've started to put beads in as I go. I'm not using the called for beads. I'm using what I've got here as replacements. I've got some of the numbers here and others. So some of them are quite bigger than what was called for, but they still look lovely. So yeah, I really don't have much. Obviously quite a bit to do with the ladies with the back stitching and stuff. Bit through here. The tree's all complete. So that's like probably 95% done. So I keep saying I'll have to get back to that. But you know what it's like when you've made a whoopsie and you've had to unpick and your pieces in the naughty corner. You don't want to go back to it. I started this piece. Oh, did I just rip it? Oh no, it's just a working copy. Good. I thought I just ripped the book with my zip. Okay, Let Love Rain by Teresa Kogut. This was the It chart at market, and I fell in love with it and I had to pick it up. And this is stitched on Jude Designs Old Sheep, which I just ended up putting it on that because it was the biggest piece of fabric that I had here at the time. And it's a beautiful one for this piece. It's got those lovely creamy custardy undertones, this fabric. And I really love this one. I'm in a Facebook group for this chart, and someone was mentioning about a lot of errors on the chart. I don't know anything about that, so I might have to go onto the designer's website and see if there's any mention of it. I haven't heard anything about that. I'm not really someone who stays 100% up to date with what's going on in the stitching and quilting world. I'm just in my own little bubble, happy as a lark, doing my own thing, and see people around the place and interact at times. But yeah, I'm certainly not. It's not my 24/7. This is a beautiful bag that I got from Fillin69, Andrea. I will show a couple of bags I brought from her. She was lovely and gave me a giveaway. And I've been buying bags from her because they're gorgeous. I'll link her below. This is my bag I made, so I like to make quite a quilted sort of a look in a bag. That's a little prairie schooler piece. I'm working on Autumn at Hawkerton Hello. Might have to do something about this lighting if we get much darker. Let's see how we go. This piece is fun. I love it. I can see why everyone raves about it. I'm not a big fan, and my piece of fabric didn't allow me the space to do all of it. So I've cut this top header out because that wasn't my idea of a good time anyway. Oh, now the light's coming back again. It's plain. It's 20 to 5 in the afternoon, and the sun will be gone in about an hour. So it's just, yeah. So anyway, here we go. So the top 4, those 3 are done, and we're looking to complete this. I have substituted some, I know that colour that's a graduated colour, Rusty Bordeaux, I think, from Jude Designs. So it's quite orangey, my piece, because adding those ones. But I'm liking it. Still deciding what I'll do, whether I'll stitch the Halloween, whether it fits. I'll just wait till I get down there. It's no biggie. Not going to spend any brain power on that just yet until I get closer to the end of the fabric and seeing what what the story is there. And then another one that was part of Whip Go, I think, or thereabouts, I can't remember, was Ink Circles. Ink Circles is another company that I've got a lot of whips, completes, and FFOs and charts. So I could probably do an Ink Circles special if you're interested. So I won't embarrass myself and pronounce this. But I got this on a stash unload with the called for thread, which is lovely to work with. It's Carrie's Creations Silk in Infinity. Purpley blues. It smells lovely still. all these years later, and it's very luxurious. I am loving it. So with that one, that's upside down. So you can see I've ended up just going diagonally. It's a beautiful stitch, and I'm liking the deep purple and blue on a stark white. I'm really liking that. That's a very stark white. Might look like that in this mood lighting we've got going on, but it is. And I've got a feeling I go away, Life O'Reilly I'm playing a softball tournament in 4th of November to the 11th, right? So I'm away with the girls for a chunk of time, and I always take my cross stitch, and they know I'm not going to go night clubbing every night like some of them. But I like to take a monochromatic piece, because even if I have a drink or two, which I generally do most nights when we're away, because we've just been sweating out in the sun playing sport, and we come and decompress and have some laughs, and they might go on night clubbing, but I stop home generally. I might have one night out, but I don't go night clubbing every night. That's not Ali. But she'll take her craft and be Nana staying at home, keeping the home fire burning. So yeah, they can come home to me. But I might take this piece, because this has only got one colour thread, and I don't have to think about it. It's a lovely piece, so I might end up taking that down the coast when I go on my away with the girls. This is I forgot to mention, that's a Lisa Kindred Stitcher bag. She made that and sent that to me years ago as a present. This is from Andrea again. This is a lovely one. I do like these plastic covers. I should learn how to do them, but I do like giving Andrea my money, so that's all good. So this is a beautiful chart from Arlene at Works by ABC, 6 pages from 1603. I've just decided to do this one as a cushion, and then I'll do all of them individually as cushions. Whether I'll do all 6 over the time, I don't know, but I'm going to do them all individually and have them sitting. I've got a basket on top of a antique sewing machine in my lounge room, and above that sits the Ink Circles big red ship of life. So I'd like that basket to have smalls in it that sits on top of the antique sewing machine. So I'm going to put this down there. That white is ghosting out about a bit in this mood lighting, but it looks fine. And I've decided just to make it the 2 colours, the blue and the white. Yeah, it actually looks fine in person. So that's, yeah, again, we're a little bit of a being held to ransom by the lighting at the moment. See, it looks good now. Yeah. Okay. You don't want to hear me talk about lighting for the next hour, because possibly, it appears I can't have a video for less than an hour. You're already at 13 minutes. So that's my whip in the whip basket by my lounge over there that I sit and stitch in. Since I've spoken to you, I've had a massive influx of stock. No, I didn't win anything. I brought it. I've been on a spending spree, like the gates have opened, oh my Lord above. I went to a de-stash sale for sewing, and it was something I went to earlier in the year. It's run by one of the local shops, and she gets all private vendors, so just someone like myself, if I had too much stash, I could go and have a stall there. So she's already planning now, this lady, for next March. So they're going to have them every 6 months. And the sheer volume of stuff, there's quilters and sewers and dress material. And prior to going to the de-stash sale, I had decided that I was going to become someone who sewed her own clothes. I have dabbled in that over the years. I don't have anything that I made years ago, but it was from a course called Knitwit. If you're Australian, you might know that. So it was working with knit fabrics, and their patterns were specific to them. So they weren't something that I didn't learn how to dressmake as such in reading. Like, I couldn't transfer that knowledge over to sewing with a McCall pattern or a Vogue pattern or something. So I kind of felt like I learnt a little bit, but not really. Since then, I have brought I have got a lot of sewing books here anyway, but I brought the collection of Tilly and the Buttons sewing books because she really speaks to the beginner, and I like that. They're easy to read, so I'm slowly reading those. I've cut out some pajamas, so my sewing machine went in for 3 weeks for a service. They were running a bit behind, so it's just come back this week, and I had to get onto a baby quilt, which I'll show you in a minute. But once I finish that baby quilt, then I'll finish sewing my daughter's quilt, and then I'll get onto my pajama bottoms. So I'm really looking forward to working my way through on how to sew for my own clothes, because I do like dressing a little bit differently to everyone else, not really quite mainstream, and I can get that if I'm a little bit eclectic with my material choice. And just learning, I want to stretch my thinking process in the craft room, because I do come in here and turn my brain off quite often, particularly when I'm cross-stitching. Cross-stitching is not difficult, and there's a lot of quilting projects that I do and read through, and I think, holy bazooly, what's that mean? And I have to read it again and again, and I get to the nugget of the issue of how I would do that. But yeah, cross-stitching is not, there's no thought process in there for me. So I did want to not always have things that I come into this room and it's just easy. I wanted to have some things that were challenging, and dressmaking is definitely going to do that for me. And stepping up my game with quilting. I have got so many new patterns and books and things. I am going to actually make a quilty tube again. I haven't made one. I think I made one 18 months ago. I had a look, and I said I'd do them regularly. I haven't. I've got so much to show you just dedicated for quilting. So I'll give you a little snippet today and show you, but I won't go too deep into the quilting because I've got so much to show you, and I don't want to really blend the two videos. At that de-stash sale that I was talking to you about, people were selling stuff on behalf of their maybe a sick relative or whatnot, and there was prices there. And I was saying, are you sure that's enough? Oh no, that's fine, that's all she wants. And I thought, I don't think you know what you've got. So for example, this wool, this is 100%, you know, the thick wool, $10 for all of that. This wool. Now this came with a chart. This is old, Wild Times Pattern Co. I haven't heard of that. It looks very American. It's from MT. I don't even know what state that is. I'm not even going to embarrass anyone and guess. But that, $20 for all that. That's like a kilo of wool. Now there's a pattern here. I won't do that pattern. I might raffle that off or give it away or something. But I don't want those 3 patterns for this. But all of that felt, yes please. Because the wool felt. Here's the story. So a couple of years ago, I started a quilt by a lady called Deidre at Hat Creek Quilts, and it was in this beautiful magazine. This is a French quilting magazine, and I really like it. Now, they do have an assumed level of knowledge. This is not ABC 1, 2, 3 quilting quite often. They don't skip stages, but they do assume you have a certain level of knowledge. So if you are buying these as a beginner quilter, you may need to reference an outside source to what they're referring to at times. This is a beautiful magazine, but I spotted this beauty, Lyndhurst. So Hat Creek Quilts is an Australian designer. She's from Tasmania, and she does her own fabric ranges. She's amazing, very, very talented lady. Now I have made all of these blocks. They're over there, and they're in William Morris fabrics, all right? And I've done the cream, so I've done similar to what they've done here. They're all in William Morris fabrics with greens and blues and reds, and the corner log cabins are in a blue and red sort of floral fabric, but it's not William Morris, but everything else is. So from those fabrics, I needed to choose colours, and my colours didn't incorporate pink. There's pink in here. That's not going to be in my house. So I did my own thing, but I did something funky and didn't reverse out the stem, so I stuffed up and I had to replace it with because I've run out. This was Weeks Dye Work wool that I brought when I was at Missouri Star Quilt Co in Kansas 4 or 5 years ago, right? And I used all the green up that I had, and I didn't have enough, so I had to, and I put this aside. It stalled, this project, and I just replaced it. I thought when I found that cheap wool that I just showed you that I'd found a replacement green. None of the greens quite, they're too dark, but I found this online, and that is good enough because it's going to go up on the wall, and I don't feel it's different enough. So I've got to do 4 of these blocks. This one here is, oh no, it's not complete. That one's complete. So that's got all like by hand blanket stitch. Blanket stitch is really simple by hand. And then I've got to add, you draw on your little space where you use a light box, draw your pattern on, and then I've got to sew down, iron on the rest of those, and yeah, do some hand blanket stitch. So they're 2 of the inner wool applique blocks. I've got 4 to do, and then all the outside blocks are done, and I'll sew that together and it'll be done. So this has been dragging on for a couple of years. It shouldn't have. There's no reason. It's easy to understand chart. It's a beautiful pattern. I don't know what I was thinking, but you know, because of that stuff up with the stems, you know how sometimes you just get a little bit of it stalls you, and then you stop and you're like, you put it aside, it's in the naughty corner, as I said before, and then you don't come back to it for a chunk of time, only because other things have caught your attention. So I'm looking forward to hanging that up in my house. I've got a spot that I think it'll fit nicely in, so I need to get on with it. So I'll just quickly show you when my sewing machine came back. I had a baby quilt to get onto, and when I make baby quilts, I've shown this on Instagram, I don't like them to be, I've just got to sew the binding down. I just got slammed through this today. I do a split shift at work. I'm a bus driver for the kids, and I just finished quilting this today, all the stippling, and I sewed on, made the binding, and I sewed it on, and now I just have to, you fold it over, so it's sewn on the front, you fold it over, and I just have to slip stitch that around here. So it's probably a few nights worth at least of slip stitching this beautiful quilt. I don't know what you can see. It's sort of a good cot size. These are 2 of my friends, and they're not girly, so Billy and Tony. So Tony's a scientist, and both girls aren't girly, so I didn't want to get, and they're having a little boy, so there's a bit of a nod to science and botanicals in one of these prints, and I wanted something that their little son could use going forward that he's not going to grow out of. So I'm not a big fan of making baby quilts. It's just my personal opinion. I find over having done this for 26 years now, I've been quilting, that something that's not tagged just as a baby quilt does have longevity for that family, more so than a real baby quilt. But anyway, these colours suit their home. I stayed there at another tournament a couple of months ago, so I did some reconnaissance and found out the colours in the nursery. I found out how they decorate their house. And yeah, these are definitely going to suit. So I'm quite happy with that. That'll come together quickly. I'll show that on Instagram when it's completely finished. And I'll look forward to giving that to them, because they're first time mums and they are so excited. But, you know, if you can give a little piece of your heart, which a homemade quilt obviously is, it's just a really simple pattern. I just designed this myself. Nothing, just half square triangles, and I bordered the quilt with 5-inch squares. These were 5-inch squares I cut in half and put into triangles and formed in a diamond. I mean, it's 1, 2, 3 ABC quilting. There's nothing challenging about that. I just designed that myself. But I wanted to use the colours of the fabric that I had here. And being a baby quilt as well, or something for a toddler, I was very mindful of the fact that that will be laundered many times. So no, I'm not going to do raw edge applique or anything. I wouldn't do applique on a baby quilt that's going to be a baby quilt in use. I would if it was a wall hanging for the nursery, but a quilt that's going to be a functional, heavily laundered quilt, in my opinion, needs to have chunkier, bigger piecing on it. because that thing's going to get laundered. I've got quilts here that I have laundered hundreds of times, and they're holding together. So the smaller you make the pieces, the more chance it's going to have of coming apart. So just being mindful of that. And I'll just quickly show, before I forget, these are the 2 bags that I brought from Andrea at Phil and 69. She does these gorgeous bags. I will tag her below. This is Kath Holden. I don't know if she's still doing this. She's reasonably priced. I think only selling in Australia though. So I'm pretty sure everyone knows about Andrea now. She's a lovely lady. So if you're looking for bags, I'm a seamstress and a quilter, and I am really looking at people's stuff when I buy it. These are perfect. These are perfect. So take my recommendation. If you want to give someone some money for a project bag, they are worth doing it. Okay, so we are going to go on to the Long Dog Sampler Special. So this is the whip that I have been working on that prompted this whole thing, and I'd been working on a whip before that. So, years ago I brought The Gift of Stitching, which was an online digital magazine, and in that was this 18th century band sampler. And I started this in 2019. I haven't got a piece that's got the last bit down there to show you, but I'm up to this part over here. I've done all of this, and it is just, as all Long Dog samplers are, colourful. It's a joy. I love their colourful band samplers. I've got a few here to show you today, but to me it's just joyful, happy stitching. It's just, I fell in love with Long Dog Sampler years ago. I brought my first few ones online from Cruel Goblin. They're down in Sydney. I'm up in Brisbane, so I've never visited that store, but they had all these different kinds of charts, and I really did quite fall in love with them. And I think it pretty well has been since. So here is where I'm up to. So I've done, with this I went down because I couldn't wait to see what all the bands look like. So I went down this side and then went across. There's little duckies. Beautiful. And then we're into that bottom one. I think I can easily finish this on this rotation and not move off it, but I'm going to put 2022 here, and if I don't finish it this year, like, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. It'll be at the beginning of next year. But this is beautiful. It's on some fabric, I don't know, some kind of even weave, like a creamy coloured even weave, bone coloured, I don't know. Okay. So a finish that I had years ago was Plight of Fancy, this is called. Now, I was umming and ahhing about how to finish this, and it's, you know, it is bigger than Ben-Hur, and I didn't want to have to sell a body part to frame it. So I decided just to sort of quilt it myself. So I just did a wall hanging with some boring marble fabric, put little rod pockets on it. That's just a bit of dowel, right? And it just hangs with this ribbon in my craft room. Plight of Fancy. This was very popular on Instagram when I was stitching this, because it really, look at these funny men. What is going on? He's got red high heels. He looks very awkward. I don't know. Unusual, to say the least. This was very dense, thick stitching, but look how glorious it is. It actually reminds me of a bit of Scarlet Letter charts. They do a lot of work like that. Almost like a Bargello looking. But this was just a joy to stitch. Whether I decide to frame it at some point, I can easily undo this finish and get it framed, or frame it myself, I don't know. But at the moment, it's hanging up in here, off the stand over there, and I quite like looking at it. So another finish I had years ago and actually got framed was this one. Now this is the Garden something, I'm not sure. This was a joy. I started this with Donna Murray from Scotland. Oh, can we get it without, there we go. It's a joy. Because I didn't buy all my Banker's Grey at the one time, I didn't know how much I needed of it. You can see the change here in the grey. Do I care? No. Does anyone else care that walks in the front door where this is opposite and sees it and says, oh, Ali, did you do that? It's beautiful. Not one person has said to me, look at that Banker's Grey. I can see it hasn't matched up. How dare you frame that like that? Goodness me, you go to cross-stitch jail. Not once. So, calm the farm on the calm the farm a little bit on change here. I couldn't do anything. Here we are. I couldn't do anything about that. I had Banker's Grey from years ago, and then I went and got a new lot. What am I supposed to do? Source the internet for the next 5 years of my life trying to look for the right Banker's Grey? I don't know. I've got more going on in my brain than that, so I wasn't going to stress about it. It's fine. Look at it. It's gorgeous. That's only 3 colours, and just the movement from the Gentle Arts thread. It's black, grey and red, and the names, Buckeye Scarlet, Banker's Grey, and the black, maybe Raven. Anyway, it's glorious. It was just the world of fun to stitch. I loved that, and I chewed through it when I got started on it. It's on just a plain white even weave because the white really makes those 3 colours just jump out. I love stitching on white for certain things. It's just the most bang for your buck for contrast. I don't know why stitching on white lost favour. I know when you're looking for heritage, looking sepia coloured tones in samplers and stuff, it makes sense, but I really think stitching on white is underutilised for contrast. And being a quilter, you know, sorry, this reflection thing. Being a quilter, I am someone who is always looking for contrast in fabrics and threads and things I put together. We look for contrast. That's what we're looking for. So, yeah, use white more, people. Use white more. Okay. So, whips, things that are on the go in the Long Dog Sampler world. This I haven't worked on for years. Why? No idea. Froth and Bubble. This is fun. It does remind me of Apply to Fancy. There is a Froth and Bubble 2. I don't own that. I've been quite content not to. I'm happy to have this. It says, life is mostly froth and bubble. 2 things stand like stone. Kindness in another's trouble. Courage in your own. I really like that. I'm not religious. I have 0 problems with anyone who is. But because I'm not religious, I don't want religious sayings hanging on my wall because it's just hypocritical. So I do look very carefully before I buy a sampler. I need to know that I am not going to be hypocritical to what I believe in my own home. That doesn't sit well with me. Please don't be offended by that. No offense is meant. I'm just, you know, you should be able to say you are religious, and you should also be able to say you're not religious, and that's all good in the hood. It's fine. So here we are. Here's an example of white. So it's a white even weave. So we go up, and you can see there's a lot of block stitching in this, and I only got to here, but it's a joy. And this is like a nice blue. So I'm liking the contrast there. I think it's beautiful. Really lovely bright colours, and it looks lovely. So I'll get back to that at some point. All of these, I forgot I had so much in regards to the Long Dog samplers until I started to think about what I what I was doing. I kept going back to back with Long Dog. I'm like, oh, here's another Andrea bag. It's got my quilted bees. I ordered this and I just had to start it. We're getting a bit dark in here now, so I'm going to try turning on that overhead light, and hopefully it's okay. Just a second while I get up. Just look at the background and talk amongst yourselves. that better? Hopefully this is okay. I used to film at night time in here. Okay. So here we go. I really did quite chew through this. Yeah, I've been going for about half an hour and the light was just too bad then. So here we go. We started at the top, and these are all the lovely hexagons that this different hexagons. There is a limited palette in this cross stitch piece. There's not that many colours. And it's really quite a dynamic look. I really, really like it. Since this came out, I think it's only a couple of years old, every time I see it, I'm like, I have to get that pattern. And it came in the house, and I don't even think I lasted a week, and I'd started it. Sharon from Melbourne mentioned, oh, I've always liked that chart. I've got it. I'll start it with you. And I'm like, bang, okay, go. I didn't really need too much of arm twisting to get going on that one. So there we are. Yeah, I'm not halfway, but I'm definitely over a third. I'm definitely over a third on it. This piece is always going to remind me of the practice. I've been binge watching the practice, and I'm up to season 6. So, if anyone needs me to represent them in the court of law, I feel like I'm qualified. Okay, so that's that. Another whip in an alley bag. Look at this cute little thing I made with a panel, and I cut raw edge applique these, and I made these cute little gingham. I was going to sell bags at one point, but I just couldn't be bothered. And I was going to do these like that, but I think that's a little bit cumbersome. So I made some where I stitched that plastic on here, but I've got to remember to do that. That was Marlene's idea, I forget. Okay, here's another one. This was in Gift of Stitching, Long Dogs, Paws and Claws, but it's also available wherever that you get Long Dogs. Now, look at the back stitching on this. I knew I was going to lose my small mind if I kept all of the back stitching in. Everything's back stitched, like everything's outlined, and it kind of aged the piece, in my opinion. Lisa Bergen from England was working on this too. She's finished hers now, I think, and she saw mine with no back stitching, and she said, "Oh, I wish I'd thought about it." Hers looks lovely too. Go and check her out. She's nice. I like watching Lisa's videos. And I didn't like that peachy thing wasn't doing that, and this peachy thing. So I decided, and I think I changed the urns. I started this after I came back from Newfoundland last time, and Pammy and I had been to a store, and I picked up some Valdani cotton strands, variegated thread for stitching at a quilt store. Have I got it? Yeah, here we are. So this is the Valdani over-dyed threads, and I haven't worked with it before, and little things. It's lovely. So I just brought it. I didn't know what I was going to do with it. And then I started this on, I want to say, Vintage Country Mocha, it looks like. So what I've done is I have kept the back stitch with the tendrils around the border. Like, that makes sense to me. It's like a vine, right? But I didn't have to back stitch. Every single logo here you see is back stitched in that chart. And God above, oh, there's little eyelets in those flowers. I'm not the world's most, the biggest fan of back stitch. That's not my idea of a good time. That's the Valdani thread there. I can't remember the colours. And see how I've changed the house. Look at that house. So that's Ali's adaptation from the peach. So you can see a vast contrast. I've darkened up the house, and I just love it. I've darkened up those urns, same colour as the roof. So, I am 3/4 of the way on this. It's fun. This is fun. Again, I'm looking at a long dog with the colours and the beauty and thinking, why did I put that down? What was my reason there? What was I feeling? What was my emotional state when I put that whip down? I don't know. I still got sick of looking at it because I do stay on things for a while. So sometimes I get to the end of stitching on something, but like my own deciding that it's the end, I'm like, if I look at this piece anymore right now, I'm going to burn it. Like, I can't stand looking at it. So it does get a little bit like that. I need to gauge when it's time to pull out because I've started to stitch less at night, or I'm just fiddling around, or I'm on my phone instead of like getting into my stitching. So if I lose that excitement about stitching on that piece and my stitching starting to slow down, I know it's time to move on. So one of my kitted ups is something that every man and his dog's got. Every man and his dog started it. I have been watching every man and his dog deciding if I like what they're doing, if I want to emulate that. Emily C from Eclectic Possessions, I think, did a beautiful patchworky looking one where she just picked up a thread and did symbols. I am, of course, talking about Death by Cross Stitch, and I quite liked her interpretation of it. And I have got a massive amount of threads here, and I certainly could have used that idea, and I liked it, but I haven't gone with that. Whether I change my mind again, but at this point, I don't think I can make myself start in this corner. I can't. Here's a little Allyism. I have the opposite of FOMO. If I see too much of the same thing, I on purpose, like a belligerent child, do not want to do that. Like, do not make me do that. Don't. Like a sook. So I think I'm going to have to start bottom left, just to get a start on something different, because I have seen that top thing for years. When did this come out? It's not telling me when it came out, but you all know it. It's been around forever. So what I'm thinking at this point, that's even weave. It's 28 count. It's the only piece I had here that's big enough for that chart. But I've got some beautiful country, I brought these years ago from Jade at Jay's Cross Stitch. Hugs and Kisses from Cottage Garden. I'm going to do DMC black and either a cream or a white. So the bulk of it's going to be black, and I'm going to highlight little bits of red, hearts and different things in there, and I am going to put some white in there as well. So that will end up being 4 colours on display. The gingerbread of the fabric, the red, the black, and the white of the thread. So I'm feeling like it's kind of a minimalist. It's kind of, we'll see. That's what I'm thinking. I think about starting this, I don't. I think about starting this, I don't. Not thinking about starting it at the moment. So it's just happily sitting there as a kitted up project. I have kitted up projects. I've got over 100. I've got 70 whips. So, that's the lunacy of Ali's stitching studio. You're witnessing it, people, my friends. Okay, so things I brought recently. I gave McKenna some donations, money donations at the altar of, what is her thing, 1847 maybe? Anyway, beautiful girl, and she does really well priced secondhand stock. I mean, I live across the other side of the world and I order from her. Apart from one hiccup during COVID, she is so quick, so organised. If I lived in the States, that girl would be getting an order from me every week. So support her. I love what she stands for. I love the love of needlework that she has. I just watched her latest video yesterday and I thought, oh, McKenna, you sweetheart. She really loves needlework, so give her your buying dollars. Scarlet ribands, do you say? I don't know what I'll do with this, whether it'll be multicoloured, whether it'll be one colour monochromatic, don't know. Not even close to deciding a colour. I've discovered new floss tubers called We Are Curious Crafters. Anna and sister. I've forgotten your name, darling, because it's always Anna that mentions on IG, so that name's in my head. They do a lot of duo, like pair stitching, and one of them is doing a beautiful dark blue with white on it. And I look at this and I think, Anyway, this was from Stash Unload, Life After Death. Haven't seen this stitched as much. I'm sure if I went looking for it, I would. And whether I treat this as similar to Death by Cross Stitch or completely differently, I don't know. Another one from McKenna. This I just drooled on. Literally drool every time I see it. I've only seen a few people stitch it. I've seen it stitched on a grey, like a stormy looking grey. That looked cool. And I've seen it stitched on a lighter blue than this. But I'm kind of liking the idea of it looking quite like that. Like a darker, deeper blue with that. I love white stitching. Controversial, isn't it? I love white stitching. I love it. I love stitching with white thread. I've got some here I'll show you. My stitching's neat and I don't have any difference between white thread and coloured thread. It's just neat. There's no problems. So I really love this one and I want mine to look like that. Like exactly like that. So it will. And the last piece from Log Dog Sampler is it Bristol Fashion? Bristol Fashion. Not liking that green. That leaves me a little cold. That probably shan't be happening in Ali's world, but food for thought. I don't know. They're so open to interpretations, all of her designs. So there we go. I'll just show you I'm not sure if I showed this alphabet. So I've got my finishes hanging up ready to go to the framers. I just haven't got around to it. No reason. I've been spending my craft money on supplies, which if you watch Instagram, I don't even put everything on there. Like it's stupid level. But anyway. So I finished this one this year. This is Jacob's Modern Folk Embroideries Jane Austen piece. I finished a Debbie Patrick Beringer Winery. I passed that chart on to Jade so she could have a go at it. Jade from Jade's Cross Stitch. That came from McKenna. That was a $2 chart from McKenna. Come on, McKenna. $2 charts. She's got $2 charts. And there's a heap of gold. If you like old 80s stuff, there's a heap of gold in her $2 charts. I found a heap of stuff. That was a $2 chart from McKenna. It was a Debbie Patrick Beringer Winery. Come on. Okay, now this one was a DMC kit and it came on a raw linen, which I made a hell of a lot of mistakes on. It was a cheap piece of linen, like raw, it looked like Hessian. It was disgusting and I was doing it in bad light at softball training with my kids years ago and I was stitching over 1, stitching over 3, stitching over God knows what. It was horrible. And I restarted this when I came back from New Jersey retreat because I had this beautiful piece of blue even weave from Silk Weaver. Needleworker's Delight was where we, and so you can see that white stitching, it's all perfect. This is a beautiful, I sent this chart to someone. I can't think who I sent this to, but someone who asked for it and waited patiently. Sorry, darling, you're probably watching this and going, it was me. I hope you're enjoying it. I've forgotten your name at the top of my head. So yeah, that's beautiful. And that's the white stitching. And this was one I finished. This was Attempting Tangles, which was really quite blue. And I sprayed walnut dye on it. And I have mixed emotions. Oh, it actually looks better on the screen than it does in person. You can see the colour. I sprayed walnut dye and that stuff. It was walnut crystals mixed with water. I keep it in a spray bottle for my paper craft or stitching, whatever. It's just so universal, easy to use. it was so thick. I went, oh my God, to race outside into the bucket. Luckily, I only stitched all this with DMC. So that's Tempting Tangles pinwheel. So I will think of how I want to finish this. I won't pay for framing for this, but it'll go up on my peacock wall in the lounge room. So they're my finishes that are just hanging there ready to have something done with them. I don't know. I don't know what I want to do there, but they are staying uncreased and nice and flat because they are hanging up, which is lovely. So that's all my Long Dog samplers. I do love their things. I'm drawn to them. I'm always drawn to their new charts. She's got a great very active Facebook page actually, Jules from Long Dog Sampler. So if you are interested, you should follow her on Facebook, because every day I see stuff of how people have stitched different ones of hers, different charts of hers, and they are all worth looking at and just noting, oh, this one did that, and very clever, and all around the world. So obviously Long Dog Samplers has been around for years, and she's extremely popular. So I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but very, very enjoyable. I do like them. I like the colorways. I like the fact that they're samplers that are band samplers with colors and a little bit it's like a modern sampler. Or you can make it very traditional and take it into those sort of sepia toned old world colors. You could easily do that with some of those ones that were monochromatic. I could make that look old and vintage very easily. So yeah, get onto the Long Dog sampler thing. I love them. So one more thing to talk about is this little baby here. It is a junk journal, and I love junk journaling. I have spoken about this before. It is something that I find very, very relaxing. It uses a lot of my paper craft things that I've had for years. Excuse me. I have done card making, scrapbooking, a little bit of quilling, all sorts of other things, but rubber stamping. I've got so many things I gave away over the years. Dabbled a little bit in mixed media and had a whole collection of Stampington & Co.'s Somerset Studio. I am so dirty on myself, I gave them away. I gave away, I want to say about 40 Somerset Studio magazines. They are like gold now, and I'm going back. They'd just come out and I started collecting them like it was early edition stuff. I can't believe I gave them away to someone. And the person I gave them to did a little bit of scrapbooking, but I had to really pass these on to her because it was mixed media and it's artwork. And she's like, oh, I don't know if I'll use them, Ali. And I said, please, they'll just be good inspiration for you. I'm having a big clean out. Just take them off my hands. What was I thinking? I should have kept them. Pretty sure Mel took them straight to the Lifeline store, the charity store. So if you live in Brisbane and you scored a heap of Somerset Studio magazines about 10 years ago, they were probably mine. Enjoy. I hope you're getting good use out of them. So anyway, I've come back to papercraft in a big way, probably 2 or 3 years ago now, and dabbling in scrapbooking and some cards if I need a card for someone. But I discovered junk journaling, and hasn't that captured my little scrappy heart? So this is just a design that I learned how to make covers and things. And so it's all neatly lined. And I've sewn this on there, and I've just stitched this little owl. These are some pre-printed panels from the Bird Cage, which is a birdhouse, the Australian Brisbane actually designer. She's got a beautiful page too. She does little embroidery patchwork. I'm just keeping an eye on the time because I've got a softball presentation tonight for the end of season for last winter. And we need to leave in half an hour. I need to go and get changed and have a shower and put some makeup on. So I like to do these, and I've got beads. I've got lots of everything. So something like this I can just fiddle around with. So this is an old cereal box, right, that I have made into a junk journal. And my way I like to do it is to do four I'm losing losing my words. It's Friday afternoon. Inserts. There's a special word. It'll come to me as I'm talking. Anyway, so I do 4 of those, and I've just put them on paper, and I really like different images from like the 50s and 60s quite often. So that's that one together. I've nearly finished that one. This is the next one. This will start the next one. So that's from a book that I've got from Lifeline, and I've put, I think that's K & Company paper. So in here, it's blowing out bad, isn't it? I've walnut stained some scrapbook paper, some old, I kept my kids, we use it for note paper around the house, but they're old textbook, paper from school. They've been out of school for a couple of years now. And so some hand-painted paper. I've made a little pocket here, so I'll put something in that. So you just intersperse your stick photos. I'll show you what I've done, but I'm just showing you a blank situation. So magazines I've grabbed, so I'll put some paper here and that'll just be used as like the backdrop. Here's another pocket. Oh, that says special mementos, and I've stitched that on with, so I've done all the stitching for stuff on in the book, music paper, vellum, prior to it going together, because it's very hard to stitch in these books once they're together. So I've just, as you can see, I've walnut stained stuff. I'm just spraying out of the bottle. That's why it looks like that. Otherwise, you can do coffee stained and soak it in a bath of coffee and tea, and that's a different look again. So I was just fiddling around with spraying walnut stain and see how that looked. So these are all blanks. You can see so and so on. Here's the start of another section. You can use anything. There's colouring paper there, so I'll have a bit of a colour on that and stick something around. Oh, my mother, that's right, she had old colouring books and she was going to throw them out. I'm like, what are you doing? So she doesn't colour every page, so I've used some of that in there, and I'll put a nice photo. I might do some words there. And there's another section. I quite like that. I don't know what I've done there. How's that for bad stitching? It's zigzag, and I've made it. That reminds me of Larry, Pammy. And there we go. We've got all different walnut stains and stuff. Put some ribbon on there. Oops. Yeah, so these are all blank maps, old maps. I just went to Lifeline and I was very good, and I kept my amount of junk journaling books to buy to a minimum. I've got half a shelf there. I am not allowed to go over that, because I could just get old books. Right, so this will all fill up and concertina and become a big chunky monkey, and I'll put some kind of a thing on it. But I'll just show you some pages I've done. Hopefully that's my child's photo. And so you write sideways. There's my kids. Stick all different things. I use it as a little bit of a diary, a little bit of, oh, there I am in this room talking about what craft I want to do. Oh, look at baby Ellie. Oh, big brother, little sister. How cute. So I like this eclectic, there we are as big people. I like this eclectic mix of journaling. Oh, me and hubby. See how it pads out and it fills up. Washi tape. Stickers. Words. There's baby Ellie again. My mother gave me a heap of old photos of me and my sister, so I've just been putting them in. And so that's me, junk journaling, and I use this. It's a, look at me in my bikini, 1978, rocking it. Me and the neighbours and my kids. So yeah, a quilt I made for a lady at the gym. So yeah, loving it. Just mucking around and having fun. And I find that junk journaling, oh, baby Ellie, baby sissy. Signatures. They're called signatures. So there's signatures. So I like to do 4 signatures in a thing. So I really quite like the beads too. That's a trend. I'm liking that. Just random So junk journaling is random for me, but what it does is I don't allow myself to think too much. So this is about being creative quickly. So it works differently. It's not, so I'm like, will that piece of paper look good there? Oh, will that sticker look good there? Oh, I don't know. Oh, is that? No, bang, 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 bang. So your creative process, it speeds up your thought process. It gets you doing things quickly, and stop like, that kind of thing, because that stops your creative brain, because you're, instead of being in the moment, you're self-assessing all the time about what you're putting down, and it stifles your artistic and creative being. So junk journaling I do for that reason, but my number one reason for junk journaling is so that when I'm an old lady in the nursing home, I want a whole row shelf of these, and I'm going to be reading through these because I write little ditties of sentences I have with the girls, or conversations, or I was doing this today, or I lifted this at the gym, or we had this really good game of softball. So it's a part diary slash memories slash words of pearls of wisdom, recollections, photos, a little bit of different art things I've done. It's a whole blend of everything in here in these junk journals, and I'm really thoroughly enjoying it. So if you are a old scrapbooker slash paper crafter from back in the day, and you have a world's worth of supplies still, get onto junk journaling. I'm telling you, you will not regret it. I'm loving it. That's Tim Holt's tape. Tim Holtz is the devil. He makes me buy things. He is sending me broke. He's a creative genius, and I love his aesthetic. I haven't mastered it clearly. This looks nothing like anything Tim Holtz puts out, but I love his content on his YouTube channel, and I thank him for being so generous with his time. So that is my junk journal that I'm currently working on. I've got a finished one up there behind that plant, up on it's the start of my shelf for the old person's home. So I'm glad to get my sewing machine back. I have a million quilting things to get onto, a million cross stitch things. I'm sorry I jumped out of Whip Go for any of you who don't think any of you were too overly engaged with watching me do that, but I do feel that I've let myself down to a degree, but I'm happy. Like I don't quilt every day, but I craft every day of my life. I don't miss a day. It's a rare occasion that I miss a day, and it's fulfilling from the bottom of my toes all the way up to the top of my head. I'm completely fulfilled by everything that I'm doing, and I hope that you feel that way. I hope that it's bringing you that much joy and that much creative freedom. I am very lucky to have a 2-bay carport that is converted. It was converted into a business office for my husband when we had different businesses going, and it is now 95% craft. He's got one little desk in the corner now. He's semi-retired. So I was thinking, because I have recently sort of not renovated but tidied up and changed sections a little bit, and I've got a little bit more coordinated. So I was thinking it might be time for another Ali's Stitching Studio craft room tour. So I will look at doing that soon. I will look at coming back and doing maybe some more designer profiles on things if I'm working on a few whips from a designer. I've got a massive collection of ink circles, Rosewood Manor, full coverage design. Don't get me started on how much of that I've got. I barely stitch it at the moment, but I've got way too many charts and whips. So I'm really thinking that I can do specials of designers, all categories like full coverage, and show you those, and just talk about my little ditties and things that are going on. That was ditties with a D, by the way. Sorry, sometimes words come out of your mouth and you're like, what did I just say? Should I edit? No, I don't edit. I don't take notes. I don't write anything. This is all just in my mind and out of my mouth. So you're getting full Ali. On the personal front, I have been just really at a nice, even level with everything. My kids are both independent. They have their own. My eldest is studying law and economics and has a job as a student economist. My youngest is studying to be a personal trainer and is working at a gym. I am just working one job 20 hours a week. My husband is semi-retired. I play sport every week. I go to the gym 6 times a week. I'm really getting quite fit, doing a challenge at the moment. And just keeping my property nice, keeping my home nice, and spending a lot of time in this craft room. So a lot of time for me at the moment, which just feels joyful. Being quite social with my girlfriends. So it's a lovely time in my life at 52 to be able to spend that time on myself. So if you are someone watching this and frustrated with lack of crafting time, I've been a crafter since I was 24, so I wasn't a child and doing it. I was an adult and married. So I do know what it feels like to wait nearly 30-something years to have all the time in the world to do stuff. So hang in there, young mums, if you're watching this. If that time will come, do what you can. Your children are only young ones. But yeah, if you have craft as a young mum, as I did, it really is that thing that keeps you sort of something to look forward to when the babies are asleep. So I hope you are finding time if you are in that position at this time in life. I am going to get going. I really have about 20 minutes to have a shower and dolly myself up for this presentation tonight. I haven't got any mosaicing or anything else to show you, but I will make a quilting video, and I will try and come back and make regular videos for you. I know there's not many people watching. For those of you who do watch, you do like to watch, so obviously you're interested. Yeah, I won't come back before the tournament because that's only in 3 weeks' time, and hopefully I'll have a medal to show you, and we'll have played well and ended up in the grand final. We won the last tournament we played at, got a gold medal. It's over there. I'll show you another time. Yeah. Thank you for your inspiration on Instagram and YouTube. I don't watch too many YouTubers at the moment, but the ones that I do watch are enjoyable. And I wish you all many happy hours of crafting. And if you've got any comments, obviously down below. I will tag Phil and Andrew69 for the bags. Long Dog Samplers Facebook group. Go and jump in and have a look there. And enjoy life, live life to the full. Happy crafting to you all, and I'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye.